Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Backstage Pass. My name is Dane Butcher. I'm your host of the show. In today's episode, I sat down with a gorgeous lady all the way from the Netherlands. She has had her own clothing line. She is an incredible musician, and she's also recently been featured on the Dutch version of X Factor, and she's got a lot of exciting projects that we're going to talk about today. So please welcome to the stage, put your hands together as we welcome Miss Candy Dulfer. Hello. You're a busy girl.
I'm a busy girl, yeah.
If you're not doing one thing, you're doing another. You've had your own clothing line.
Yeah, I've called the 2015. It's the year of diversity. I'm just doing all kinds of different things, and I really, really like that. I think I've always been interested in doing many things. I love music, so anything to do with music, I'll do. But it can be either, making my own record like I'm working on now. I'm also going to do a big project with a cross between a symphony orchestra and 2 DJs and jazz music, which for me is really interesting.
So let me ask about it. How does that work?
It's just...
Because you do a lot of funk. I mean, you don't necessarily do traditional jazz or smooth jazz. Like, you really put a funky spin on stuff.
Yeah, because that's basically... I grew up with... my father's a jazz musician, so I grew up with all of that, and I still love that. But when I came up, when I was young and I started playing, my father was sort of the outcast of the jazz world because he dared to play with an electric bass player. And that was so not done by that time. He was ousted like, okay... So by that time I was 12 years old, wanted to play, and I thought, well, if the jazz world is like that, then I'm not going to play jazz, I'm going to do other stuff. So I sort of veered towards more funk music. I love James Brown, Maceo Parker, that's really my thing. So I went there, but jazz is always in me, and I've always, I grew up with all that music. So, but on the other hand, because coming from Europe, I think we like to mix everything. Nothing is our own, basically, except maybe classical music, which I don't really like. So all the music that I love comes from the States or from Africa, or So for me, it was always very normal to mix all the things that I liked and put them together. And then later I found that that's not normal at all, and some people even frown upon it. But it's just the way I am. So I like to combine everything that's good and throw it together in a big mix. So projects like this with a symphony orchestra and a DJ, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm not even thinking about how it's going to be. I'm thinking like, yeah, that's going to be cool.
Now, I mean, I've worked with groups before, and we've done symphony tours, and it's a lot of work. The conductor and they're very serious about their music. So when you throw a DJ in there, are they as open and as accepting?
Well, luckily for this project, we have a very open and young conductor, so he's totally into it. But I've worked with orchestras before, and they just like, some of them are like,
right.
Especially this, the classical sax section.
Yeah.
Like, because when the classical saxophone players, that feels to me like, fingers on the chalkboard. And they told me the way I play sounds the same to them. So it's like, oh, that's great. We should be working together more often. But in the end, it all comes together because the love of music is bigger than all these, these boundaries. So it always ends up great. And the last thing I did with an orchestra was fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And we're going to play this huge stadium. And a couple of really high-profile young DJs are going to be there, so it's going to be fun.
In Amsterdam?
Yeah, it's no, actually Rotterdam, big city.
Okay. Well, I mean, Amsterdam and the Netherlands is pretty open and.
Well, I would say normally, yeah, it's all one big city, but there's somebody from Rotterdam here in the back, and he might protest. So there's always been a rivalry between Amsterdam. It's like Boston and whatever. Rivalry between Amsterdam and Rotterdam. So I can't really say that. If he wasn't here, I would say, yeah, it's.
But you live in Amsterdam, right?
I live in Amsterdam, which is the capital, the center of the world. My father always makes me tell everybody. It's not really, but we like to think of it that way. But it's a cute town. It's very nice, and that's where I grew up, and where there's always been a mixture. Amsterdam is a harbor town. Like all the cultures from the whole world came there. So for us Dutch people who have no culture from themselves at all, except wooden shoes and tulips, we like to embrace everything what comes in. At least the good people do, and we like to,
Do you go and buy fresh flowers on at the markets?
I think fresh flowers is a big thing in Holland, even with guys, with everybody. We grow up with that, the beautiful, there's so much of it around. You can go every morning and buy some beautiful bouquets, and there are a couple of really, really good flower, designers there that make incredible things. So
do you have the clogs?
I do have the clogs. You might remember I brought them 2 years ago on your little idea of international show. And I bought the whole. I still have the costume though. I was wondering when I get to break that out again.
Do you have the costume with you?
No.
Oh.
Left at home.
Do you, being in Amsterdam, so you shop and you get the tulips and you've got the clogs. Do you eat those funny brownies and go to those weird cafes?
Yeah, we do. Well, the thing is, like you would understand, is that most of the weed and stuff has been smoked by people from outside the Netherlands, of course. It's we have Rembrandt, we have tulips, and we have weed. And that's basically, well, weed might be number one as a tourist, attraction. So in general, although, musicians are a bit more prone to do it, I think kids do it when they're like 16, 17, or maybe a little earlier. And then after 2 years, they think it's boring and they stop. But the tourists, they go crazy. And one time I had a musician over, Easy Moby, a very famous rapper who used to produce Miles Davis albums as well. And one time he came and he was there for 4 days in Amsterdam, and I asked him, so did you go out, did you see anything? He said, no, I went to the Bulldog, which is like 5 meters from his hotel room, and they gave me some weird shit, man, and I never... And there was like somebody from New York, like hanging out with the big rappers. So I thought, well, our stuff might be a little stronger. I did it when I was 12 years old.
12?
I just smoked it, but because my parents were, the one thing you should not do is tell your kids, never do drugs, because the first thing they're going to do, that's what we Dutch believe, when they get, that certain age, they'll go like, I'm going to do drugs, because my parents hate it. So my parents were kind of, I think they hated it if I did it, but they were kind of like, oh yeah, sure, but my father would say, let me then go out and buy it so that you get good stuff. Now that's so stupid. If your father, comes to your friends and with a little bag and says, well, if you want to smoke, it takes the whole thing out of it. So I did it like 2.5 times. I never got stoned. It really didn't work. It's not in my personality, I think. So if you think coming to the Netherlands, everybody's like hanging like this, it's not true. I think there's something to say for our drug policy that the more you let it go, the less people are going to do it. But except the tourists, and they lay on the streets for days sometimes. We pick them up, we give them something to eat, and then they're okay.
Well, when we come back right after this break, we're going to talk to Candy Dulfer about her recent wedding. Stick around. You're watching Backstage Pass with Candy Dulfer.
Hi, I'm Marcus Miller. Now, I was born and raised in New York City. Starting as a teenager, I was going from one studio to another studio as a session musician, working with and backing legendary names like Miles Davis, Eric Clapton, Luther Vandross, Roberta Flack, Aretha Franklin, Herbie Hancock, David Sanborn, and many more. As we all know, New York has a heritage and long-standing history of jazz, with many colorful interpretations. Next March, I'm going to take you on a tour of the Big Apple and show you my version of where jazz is alive and kicking in the city that never sleeps. Visiting places like Birdland, Blue Note Jazz Club, B.B. King's Club, and Diamond Horseshoe, all while staying at one of the world's foremost grand hotels, the Waldorf Astoria. We'll also visit Harlem and the famous Apollo Theater and see shows by incredible talent such as the John Pizzarelli Quartet, Jane Monheit, the Christian McBride Quartet, the Emmett Cohen Trio, Joe Lovano, Etienne Charles, and of course, yours truly with my band, which is going to be comprised of Aaron Parks, Eric Harlan, Gretchen Parlato, and Gregoire Marais. With lunches, dinners, shows, transportation, and accommodations, a program of this caliber is not to be missed.
Welcome back to Backstage Pass. We're here with the beautiful and gorgeous and unstoned Candy Dulfer.
Thank you.
So, you just got married.
Yeah, this might be not. Yeah, I'm very happy, lucky. I found somebody a little later in life, but I found somebody.
It was unexpected, wasn't it?
It was very unexpected because, well, the reason I would bore people with it a little bit is that it has a history on the boat. Because I think 6 or 7 years ago,
6 or 7 years ago,
I was invited by you guys to come here, and aside from that being great and meeting all these amazing musicians and this incredible audience, I also got to meet the love of my life, who was working on the boat. And by chance, like if I had come in 2 minutes later, I would have missed him. I would have not talked to him that night. So, and now we're married. We actually got married in June because he's Hungarian, and we married in June in a beautiful winery in the countryside in Hungary on the most beautiful day in the whole year. The next day, all the terrace chairs and everything were flying through the wind.
Oh, really?
We were so lucky. Yeah, I had 60 people over from Holland. I was like, it was most nerve-wracking, but that day everything was perfect. So yeah, it was amazing, and I'm still. It's just amazing that I met him here. You know, it's like just crazy.
Do you think the sea and the romance of being out, on the ocean?
Yeah, I think it does something to you, but it was very unexpected, and I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't looking for love. No, I really wasn't looking for it. And but that's what they say. You know, when you're not looking for it, when you finally give up, like you're gonna meet somebody real special, then suddenly they're like in front of you.
Yeah, and then it was then that after you guys met, he basically just quit and.
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, he was actually. He was working here because he used to be a professional soccer player, and he got injured, and this was sort of like an in-between thing he was doing. He was doing a casino. Not that I frequent the casino a lot.
Well, you weren't there when you met him.
No, it's true. Oh, you're good. You're good. You remember. So, but he worked here. But after that, I think he was already ready to do something else. And again, that was special that we met at year, because next year he wouldn't have been there. And he decided to come with me to the Netherlands, and now he's a full-time soccer trainer and a coordinator for a big football club in Amsterdam.
Was he aware of who you were? Because I know that in the conversations he and I had leading up to the
I don't think
introduction,
so. Well, he knew the song. He knew Lily was here, which was my song, but I think he never saw whoever played that.
Right.
I know he liked the song, but that was it. And I think I think you prepped him a little bit.
I did, a little
It
bit.
was very, very good.
I played
He's the
Cupid.
matchmaker on the ship. If you're single, just go to Dan Butcher and he'll set you up.
I did, I played Cupid.
Yeah, you did, you did. But I have to share the credit also a little bit with Dave Koss, who says he sets everybody up because he was there. So.
Dave was lying.
Yeah.
Hope he doesn't see this. But what's interesting is reading up, because you've played with so many really big names. I mean, you opened in '87, wasn't it? You opened for 2 European tours of Madonna.
Yeah.
And then you started working with Prince, you played with Van Morrison, you've played with, Dave Stewart, and you were working with the Eurythmics at one point.
Yeah.
When you're out on the road with them, did you get to hang with Madonna at all?
Well, I have different stories. Some people are very closed off, so you don't really get to meet him. But actually, Madonna was very nice, and I remember her coming. I was like 16, doing her support
16?
act. Yeah, and we were playing like smooth jazz. So it was a totally strange. All these kids were there with the rubber bracelet and the crosses in their ears, and
right.
little girls, like 12-year-old girls. And I was basically playing the music that I'm playing now, jazzy kind of stuff. But they had me in the support act, and later I thought that must have been so weird. People were waiting for, like a virgin, and we were like, playing like this. But she just dug it, and she came out, and she was at the height of her fame already back then. And she had this little hoodie on. She had short hair. It was this tour where she had the short blonde hair. She was a beautiful girl. And for a minute I saw her, and I thought, there's this beautiful little boy standing there. Who is he? Like a little angel or something. And it was her with her hood on. And she came there, and she was like, like this. So she really made us feel like we were really a good part of the tour. But further, I didn't have any interaction. I performed on Aretha Franklin album. I never met her. I never talked to her. So you have these things where you do make music together, but you have no interaction at all.
Right.
But then on the other hand, people like Dave Stewart, they're it's one of my best friends. Now Maceo Parker is my mentor, my friend. Prince is a different story altogether, but I did spend so many years with him, on the
What do you mean by a different story?
Well, he's somebody who's, as you can imagine, if you, see him, he's not a regular, like, hey, what's up, He's a little bit more, he's not, he engages with everybody.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's eccentric. He's just very by himself, and he is very, how do you call it? He's very sure of himself. So everything he does is like, and that makes people around him, go like, oh, he's here,
Right.
And I would always go against it. And at one point on the tour, because he's quite strict, he's right, but sometimes it's hard for the musicians around him to, wrap your head around what he really wants. So, and I was not, I have this Amsterdam attitude or something. That's also how I met him, where I gave him a big mouth, and he said, "Oh, okay, you come play with me then if you're so cocky." And that's my history with him always been. So he would always, look at me like, "So what you got to say now?" And then at the end, the musician would always say, like, "You go, you ask him what's the first song." And I said, "Why do I always have to go?" And then I would like knock on the door, and he would be doing his makeup like this. I'd be like, "Oh, sorry." And I always have these things where I would always do the wrong thing. Like I would bump into him on stage. I almost hit his eye out with my saxophone one time, or I stepped on his. At one point, we were doing an after show, which are like the biggest shows with him. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And he came up, and he had this really cool crocheted kind of thing on. And he came to me and he said, "Hey," and he came on, and at one point I hooked with my saxophone in his crocheted beautiful thing, and then we were like entangled for like 30 seconds. And he got so mad he ran upstage and he never came back. And we played, but it was really my fault because I was in the way again, and we played like for 3 hours. Like, I think he might be back soon, and he never came back. So we had this kind of relationship where I know he loved me, but he also thinks I'm super clumsy, and he just didn't know what to do with me. But I'm just very flattered he took me in the band.
Are you super clumsy?
Sometimes I am, yeah.
But you're a good dancer.
Well, I don't know. I thought I wasn't, but you brought out really a dancer in me. I don't know. January was really an eye-opener for me. Actually, we did a show just now with 4 singers in the Netherlands called Ladies of Soul. And I was actually pushing him to do more choreography since our little Dancing with the Stars adventure. Yes.
So then this cruise, we're going to see a lot more dancing?
Well, I don't know. I'll try it. It was really nerve-wracking. In January, Dan had me dance with the best dancer on the whole ship. And, I hit his toes a couple of times. But in the end, we really did a good thing.
We've got more when we come back right after this break with Candy Dulfer.
Welcome to the Gospel Music Cruise, the most amazing and inspirational cruise to ever hit the high seas, featuring the top names in gospel music. Names like Kirk Franklin, Yolanda Adams, Fred Hammond, Pastor Shirley Caesar, Ty Tribbett, Pastor Marvin Sapp, Take 6, along with co-hosts yours truly, Kirk Whalum and Regina Bell. To accompany this incredible lineup of artists, comedian Alonzo Bowden and the ultimate dance band DW3 will join the bill along with some truly amazing musicians and more. This week-long praise party sails the Caribbean from Fort Lauderdale, visiting ports of call Grand Turk and Turks and Caicos, San Juan, Puerto Rico, Tortola in the British Virgin Islands, and Holland America's own private island of Half Moon Cay. The cruise captures the essence of the gospel world, as it's not just about the music, but the overall experience. During the days and nights when you're not enjoying the lush and tropical ports of call, we have a ton of events from celebrity-hosted cooking demonstrations, music panels, and inspiring seminars with our gospel music artists. Artist-hosted basketball games, game shows, theme nights, and much, much more all week long. The Gospel Music Cruise sets sail March 6 through 13, 2016, on one of Holland America's most luxurious ships, the MS Eurodam, which features all of the 5-star accommodations and amenities that a ship has to offer. Visit thegospelmusiccruise.com and book now, as every aspect of this amazing event, from its inception to the actual cruise, will be simply that, amazing.
Welcome back. You're watching Backstage Pass. I'm here with Candy Dulfer. So you've toured with Madonna, you've toured with Prince, you've worked with so many people. You've been on X Factor, you've had a clothing line, you've done this Divas show, you're doing symphonies with the DJs. What's left? Like, what's on your bucket list that you've not done yet that you'd just love to do?
So many things, and they're not just musical stuff, but there's a lot of things that I would like to do. And the funny thing is, sometimes I do so much touring that I don't have time for the things that I still have in my head. Like, I'm watching my age. I'm like, how many years do I have to, or do I have? Because there's so much fun stuff that you can do with music. I still feel that making those combinations are so incredible. I would love to have an all-girls band one time. I perform a lot together with Sheila E., and it would be so cool if we one day had the women band all together. Not because I think, but it would be just special, to have that happen one time. Wendy and Lisa have everybody there, Michelle and Degocello. So that's a big dream of mine still. But also, like you said, I did the fashion thing. I thought it was amazing. I would love to have my own store, like a multi-thing where you would be able to buy music, like download all kinds of great stuff on your own stick, or take it with your computer, and at the same time have a nice coffee shop there with no drugs, but like smoothies, the fashion, art, everything. And I'm actually talking about that right now. So who knows, maybe one day that fantasy is going to be real, because and it should have a club somewhere, although my mother used to work in clubs when she was younger as a like sitting at the cashier and stuff, and she always told me don't do it. But I would love to have one day have a club, have my own bands come in and play. It would be really nice.
And your mother's your manager?
Still is, yeah.
She tours with you all the time?
She does. She's 73 years old, but
she's 73?
Yeah, that's incredible. If you see her, a lot of times people ask me if she's my sister or if I'm her mother. She's just amazing looking, she's a beautiful woman, and she's an amazing woman. And the funny thing is, when I was 12 years old, I already had some gigs, so I needed somebody to drive me. But slowly but surely, she had to help me also with, hiring the band and everything, and paying them and stuff. So we never set out to be a mom and daughter team, but we became. And there were so many people that warned us, like, don't do that. Never work with your mother, and she'll ruin you, or you'll ruin her, blah, blah, blah. And now we're like 30 years later, and we're still laughing at everybody. And I'm having an amazing career, which has lasted. And that's a big, big part of her is her.
Do you butt heads?
Yeah, every day, but in small things. Like we're really mother and daughter. Sometimes the band sits in the back of the bus, and they're like, can you please stop bickering for a while? It gets really tired. And we're like, no, but she said that. So that never stops. We still have the same relationship as when I was 16 and she was like,
And for 30 years, you've never fired her?
No, of course not. She should fire me, but luckily she didn't. And she never took another artist on, which I think she should have done as well. We had many artists that said, could you manage me too? And she said, no, I'm only doing my daughter. So it's been amazing, and I think it's a bit crazy to be 45 years old and bringing your mom everywhere, but it's just this way we have the most fun, and she's, well, you know her, she's incredible.
She is.
And I'm the one who sometimes have to watch over her. It's not the other way around.
And she gets wild and crazy?
Yeah, she does. Yes.
Wait, when you met Bella in the casino, and I'm sure prior to Bella, you've had previous relationships in the past, and maybe you've met them on the road or whatever. Is that, having mum as manager, is that an awkward kind of thing?
Yeah, it is, and also because I had Chance Howard there, who you might know is my singer in the band, and they were all present there, and I only had 5 minutes to talk to this great guy. So at one point they were all sitting next to me, and Chance was like, so what are you going to do tonight? I said, go away. Go away now. I'm talking to this really guy, go away. And he was like, oh, excuse me. And then he came back and he said, is he bothering you? I said, no, go away. I'm having a real great talk with a real great guy. So afterwards he understood, and Chance forgave me. But yeah, sometimes it's like when you have your whole family there, it's not like you have your family there, but I think it saved me from a lot of embarrassing moments, so it's good.
Do you get sick of the touring?
No, I love it. The best thing in life for me is especially go on the bus, because flying is a little bit more, as you all know, it's not so easy anymore, especially with musical instruments, blah, 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 you get tired. But on a bus with beds and a kitchen and everything there, and my best friends in the band, and it's just one big party. That's the thing I always want to do. I think making records, for me, that's work. That's something like, oh, okay, I have to do this. But going on tour to some fun country is like the best ever. I will never get tired of that.
Is it difficult now though, because Bella's now, and he's not on the cruise, and he wasn't on in January, which was the first time.
Yeah, he hates it.
He hates not being here.
Yeah, because he loves going back here and not having to work, but hanging out here, and also he's friends with all the musicians as well, and all the people who used to work here. But he now has a job that he can't leave, so he really can't do that. But he asked me every day, send me pictures, and then I sent 2 pictures, and he said, now I'm jealous. I said, okay, should I stop sending the pictures, or should I send the picture?
Well, I wish you all the best on the new album, and also with the Divas show. And you also just did some shows, like 70,000 people.
Yeah, that's
over 3 days.
That's 3 days, and it was really great because the repertoire is all good soul and funk music, and as you can imagine, in Holland there's a big audience for that, but it's not like in the States where everybody has that in their DNA. So we were really wondering how people would like that, and they loved it. Sold out shows. We're even going to Belgium now and other countries. So,
so you did a 70,000 seat stadium 3 days in a row.
Together 70,000. Yeah,
70,000. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best on that. The new project, the marriage.
Thank you.
and the symphony and the DJs. I mean, you've got a lot on your plate, and I look forward to seeing you dance on this cruise.
I hate you, but we will.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Backstage Pass. Put your hands together for this lovely lady, Miss Candy Dulfer. Thank you very much.